Hi everyone. Welcome to Clone Compounding, where our mission is to learn from others in order to achieve financial independence.
Do the number of valuation methods make your head spin? That's a common reaction among investors looking to value companies for investment. Yet if you understand the three basic approaches to valuation, you'll understand which type of valuation method makes sense for your business. In today's video, let's look at valuation myths and valuation approaches by none other than the Dean of Valuation, Professor Aswath Damodaran. Professor Damodaran's contributions to the field of finance have been recognized many times over. In addition to myriad publications in academic journals, Professor Damodaran is the author of several highly regarded and widely used academic texts on valuation, corporate finance, and investment management. Valuation is the process of determining the value of an investment, asset, or security. It is the most important aspect of investing. Professor Damodaran is one of the best experts on valuation and shares the most common valuation myths. While Professor Damodaran does a great deal of his work assessing the value of publicly traded companies, he was kind enough to share some insights on the fundamentals of valuation that can be applied to all industries. Let's start with the myths. Myth 1. A valuation is an objective search for true value. Professor Damodaran notes that all valuations are biased. The only questions is how much and in which direction. Further, he also notes that the direction of the magnitude of the bias in your valuation is directly proportional to who pays you and how much you are paid. That's entirely why we encourage independent, third-party appraisals for each business valuation. Yet his point is well taken. Bias can impact a valuation, and the idea that a true value can be measured is unrealistic. Myth 2. A good valuation provides a precise estimate of value. Professor Damodaran believes there are no precise valuations, and that the payoff to valuation is greatest when valuation is least precise. The reason is simple. When there is a great deal of uncertainty about the future, most people give up on doing valuation, choosing to follow what others are doing. Thus, someone who values a company in this environment is going to have an advantage over others in the market. The more certain the future becomes, the easier it becomes for everyone to value the company. Myth 3. The more variables in the model, the better the valuation. Your understanding of a valuation model is inversely proportional to the number of inputs required for the model. He notes that simpler valuation models do much better than complex ones. Complex models require more inputs, and those inputs have to come from you. The error in the inputs often drowns out the precision that comes from being complex. Many different business valuation methods, but only 3 approaches. As we noted in the beginning of this post, there are countless methods for establishing a business's value. With a nod to Professor Damodaran's views on simpler valuation models, it's more important to understand the 3 overall approaches to valuation. Once you've grasped these concepts, you can understand the particular method being used. Intrinsic valuation or discounted cash flow. With this method, you're really looking at what truly makes up the value of your company, and projecting how the future will impact that value. Essentially, intrinsic value relates the value of an asset to its business characteristics, its capacity to generate cash flow, and the risk in its cash flow. Also referred to as discounted cash flow valuation, it forces you to think about underlying characteristics of the firm and understand its business. Relative valuation. The market perceptions and moods are reflected in this approach, as compared to the intrinsic valuation. This is used when your objective is to sell an asset at that price today, and invest on the momentum-based strategies. With the current state of the market taken into account, Professor Damodaran notes that there will always be a significant proportion of businesses that are undervalued and overvalued. Contingent claim valuation. In the third approach, you analyze assets. This method may be used where you're liquidating a business, valuing a business's assets for accounting reasons, or using a sum of the parts valuation, in which someone is targeting an acquisition as a cheap investment. Business valuation. Is it in the eye of the beholder? Professor Damodaran notes the three approaches can produce different results. The three approaches can yield different estimates of value for the same asset at the same point in time. It all depends on the intent of the valuation and how it's being used to justify the price. It's also calculated in reaction to the marketplace. Again, Professor Damodaran shares that the use of valuation models in investment decisions, i.e. decisions on which assets are undervalued and which are overvalued, are based upon 1. A perception that markets are inefficient and make mistakes in assessing value. 2. An assumption about how and when these inefficiencies will be corrected. In an efficient market, the market price is the best estimate of value. The purpose of any valuation model is then the justification of this value. In other words, don't think of the valuation model as setting the price. The market sets the price. The valuation helps to justify it. Which business valuation approach to use? The business valuation approach you'll use is largely dependent on your strategy. There is a time and a place for each approach, Professor Damodaran notes, and knowing when to use each one is a key part of mastering valuation. What we see typically is the use of the intrinsic value for most companies. In growing sectors, the relative valuation might be more applicable. What comes first, the price or the valuation? According to Professor Damodaran, he pointed out that many people are really inquiring more about pricing methods, and less about valuation methods. Valuation can be used to justify the price you ask, and the strategic way you price your company will ultimately boil down to one of the three approaches shared previously. At the end of the day, the biggest pricing and valuation mistakes occur when you're not aware of the current state of your company. The biggest mistakes are the same for large and small companies. Professor Damodaran warns, it's not controlling for differences in profitability, growth and risk. Conclusion. So, that was the valuation myths and valuation approaches as shared by Professor Damodaran. Remember that investing is a journey, and it's essential to find a strategy and valuation mechanism that suits your investments. We hope you found these insights valuable, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more investing wisdom.
For now, that's it from us. Hope you enjoyed and learned from this video. Smash that like button and subscribe to receive more videos on memos and write-ups from top investors. Thanks for watching.